Hey, everyone. You ever wonder what would happen if a crocodile evolved to walk like a horse? Well, no, me neither. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Crocodilians have been around since the late Triassic, but for most of their time they've been largely aquatic, although there have been many exceptions. One group of crocodilians, the Meso-Crocodilians, took a slightly different approach, becoming large terrestrial animals with hooves. One of these crocodilians was Boverisuchus. Boverisuchus was a genus of Meso-Crocodilian that lived in North and South America during the Eocene epoch from about 56 to 34 million years ago. It was first described by Albert C. L. 75 in 1938, and the name Boverisuchus means ox crocodile. This isn't just because of its hoofed feet, but also because of its robust skull and powerful jaws. These traits are more reminiscent of a large horned dinosaur than an actual crocodile. The best known species, Boverisuchus michelli, was about 2.5 meters long, but some individuals were up to 4 meters long, so it wasn't tiny by any stretch. Boverisuchus was also not the only member of its family. Boverisuchidae. There were at least 4 other species in 3 additional genera. These include Albinerpeton, which was much smaller, about 50 centimeters long, and the bizarre Cynostegus, which had a huge head and short body. But these are much less known due to them being represented by much less complete remains. As far as we can tell, all these genera lived only in the Americas, but it's possible they were found elsewhere as well. Maybe one day more fossils will be found, and we'll know more about these strange crocs. But for now, let's get back to Boverisuchus. Boverisuchus lived in a very different world than the crocodiles of today. Their world was one recovering from the largest mass extinction in history, the one that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs. This meant that crocodilians were some of the largest predators on land, at least until the emergence of early whales. And to take advantage of this niche, they had to change. For the ancestors of Boverisuchus to become terrestrial, they needed to evolve limbs that could support their weight on land and allow them to move efficiently. After all, crocodiles aren't exactly built for running. Their bodies are long and low to the ground with small legs and feet. This makes them great for propelling themselves through the water, but not so much for running on land. To adapt to this new mode of life, crocodilians like Boverisuchus evolved longer, stronger legs with larger feet. They also developed large, blunt claws that helped them grip the ground while running. This is where the nickname Hoofed crocodile comes from. But unlike modern crocodiles, which have 5 toes on each foot, Bover crocodilians had 4 toes on each foot, which are more like hooves. See, it turns out that the evolutionary changes that allowed them to become terrestrial also caused them to lose a toe. This trait is shared with modern birds, which also have 4 toes on each foot. Birds, of course, are closely related to crocodilians and share many features with them, such as a 4-chambered heart and a diaphragm. In fact, birds are technically considered to be the only surviving members of the Archosaur group, which also includes crocodilians, dinosaurs, and all their relatives. So it seems likely that crocodilians like Boverisuchus were more bird-like than we might think. But this doesn't mean they were feathered. While it's possible some crocodilians may have had feathers, we don't see any evidence of it in Boverisuchus. However, they were likely covered in some kind of proto-feather, a simple downy covering that may have helped regulate body temperature or maybe even attract mates. We also know from studying their bones that they were capable of limited bipedalism. Boverisuchus couldn't walk on 2 legs for long periods of time, but they could probably do it for short bursts, like maybe when they were trying to catch prey or escape a predator. Another feature that may have helped them while on land was their teeth. Unlike modern crocodiles, which have long pointed teeth for catching fish, Boverisuchus had shorter, blunter teeth that were better suited for crushing bones and other hard tissues. This suggests they hunted large, tough-skinned prey like mammals and other reptiles. And speaking of hunting, A 2022 study used bite force reconstruction to figure out how these weird crocs used their jaws. It turns out their bite force was about 600 pounds per square inch, or psi, about 4,000 newtons. To put this into perspective, it's about half of the bite force of Tyrannosaurus rex, but way more than any living crocodile. It's important to note that crocodiles don't use their bite force to capture prey like snakes or wolves do. Instead, they use their jaws to clamp down on prey and suffocate them before swallowing them whole. So it's likely that Boverisuchus behaved similarly. But it wasn't just the structure of their jaws that made them such effective hunters. The strength of their bite also played a role. A 2023 study investigated whether the dueling behavior seen in modern crocodiles could have been present in Boverisuchus and other extinct crocodilians. As part of this, they reconstructed the bite force of several extinct crocodilians, including Boverisuchus. What they found was that the largest euphracidians, including Boverisuchus, had bite forces around 4,000 psi. This is about twice that of modern American alligators and 3 times that of the saltwater crocodile, the largest living croc. The researchers believe that these large bite forces may have been used for crushing bones and resisting bites from rivals. So not only did these prehistoric crocs have huge jaws, they also had powerful bites. While Boverisuchus is a fairly well-known animal, there's still a lot we don't know about it. For example, we don't know what exactly it looked like. The few fossil remains we have don't have skin or hair, so we can only guess what it may have looked like. Some reconstructions show it looking like a dinosaur, while others show it looking more like a crocodile. Ultimately, we don't know what it looked like. Maybe it looked like both at different points in its life. That's possible. Another thing we don't know is what exactly it ate. Did it eat plants, animals, or both? The evidence seems to point to it being an omnivore. Maybe it fed mainly on plants, but occasionally hunted animals as well. Or maybe it was more of a hypercarnivore that hunted large mammals. The truth is, we just don't know. More fossils are needed to answer these questions and many others. One thing we do know is that it went extinct about 34 million years ago. The reason behind its extinction is unknown, but it's likely that changing environmental conditions played a role. Crocodilians are cold-blooded, so they need a warm climate to survive, and the Eocene was getting cooler towards the end. Additionally, the mammal-like reptiles known as mesonychid were emerging during this time. These animals were mostly small proto-wolverines that hunted in packs, and while they probably weren't a threat to adult Boverisuchus, they could have posed a danger to their eggs and hatchlings. There's also the possibility that mammals simply outcompeted them for food. Whatever the reason, it seems that Boverisuchus couldn't adapt to the changing world around it and eventually went extinct. It's a shame because it was one of the strangest and most interesting groups of animals ever. Imagine seeing one of these things walking around in the forest. You'd probably think you were seeing a dinosaur. But it wasn't a dinosaur. It was something even weirder. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more prehistoric creature videos. See you next time.